Welcome to War Room 2020, Episode 12. We're live from Capitol Hill, the nation's capital, with Raheem Kassam, Jason Miller. Honored to be joined in studio by Sheriff David Clarke. Sheriff Clarke's going to give us a bunch of blinding insights, not just in the campaign, but also Wisconsin, which could get down to be the state. And what a better place to have Sheriff Clarke than in Wisconsin. Okay, live in the John Fredericks Radio Network, on Salem Broadcast Radio Network, throughout the country, on America's Voice, the great streaming service of the Trump movement, and on FM 99.1 in Chicago and FM 103.9 in Chicago. Okay, gentlemen, so much going on. It's kind of a reset. We've got the pandemic. We have the 11 o'clock show. We're in pandemic. A big sell-off today on Wall Street throughout the world. We're going to get to all the details about the pandemic and what's happening throughout the world in a moment. But the first thing, I think, is this historic. And it took the pandemic actually bump President Trump as the lead story, or would have been the lead story globally. A historic visit to India, and the bravery of President Trump of doing this in the middle of this pandemic, where you got Korea, you've got Iran, you've got Italy, you've got all these countries that it's exploding in. For him to go there and to bond with the Indian people is absolutely incredible. Raheem, do we have the clip?
Yeah.
You have done a great honor to the American people. Melania, my family, we will always remember this remarkable hospitality. We will remember it forever. From this day on, India will always hold a very special place in our hearts.
I think a little farther on.
Modi underscores the limitless promise of this great nation. He started out by his father's side as a Chihuahua, a tea seller.
Let's hang over. I want to bring in Dave Ramaswamy. He gets into that speech to say America loves India, right? It's a very, very touching moment. Okay, I want to bring in now someone who was there live, Dave Ramaswamy, one of the top venture capitalists in the country, part of the Howdy Modi team that brought President Modi here for the great rally with President Trump. And it was actually, Dave was actually at the event. Dave, can you hear us?
Yes, Steve, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly, Dave. Listen, can you give us, you're calling live from India, can you give us an idea? You were actually at the cricket stadium. Can you tell us what it was like?
Steve, words can't describe what it was like. You had to be there. But for those who weren't, three words come to mind: epic, electric, and exponential. This was a rally to end all rallies.
I love the use.
I think the Trump campaign, the re-election campaign staff should really up their game. I mean, what the president and his staff and the core team saw in India is going to be with them forever. This was from the heart and the soul of the people of India. And as you know, President Trump thinks big, and Prime Minister Modi does too. And so this event totally typifies that. You had 125,000 people braving 90-degree heat who sat there for 4 to 5 hours before the leaders came on stage, patiently waiting and just applauding on every line. And President Trump gave a very deep-throated defense of Prime Minister Modi's record, of India's record as a democracy, of the shared values that exist between the U.S. and India. And it was extremely well received.
This is Jason. Let me ask you a question. Did the crowd at any point break into a chant of "Lock her up"? Did we get that? Or I don't know if that one. Okay, that was a joke. But in seriousness, what does this mean for the Trump Indian American relationship here in the U.S.? Obviously, we saw the massive event in Houston, the Howdy Modi event. In 2016, we saw the event at MetLife Stadium in New York. We're seeing, obviously, the Indian American community is growing here in the U.S. What does this mean as far as the political shift in the alignment going into 2020?
I think there's going to be more Indian Americans voting Republican, and specifically for President Trump this fall. And the other good news is he's going to have more campaign cash coming his way. 1 in 4 Indian Americans originate from the state of Gujarat, where the rally was held today, and many of them are entrepreneurs. And President Trump's message of empowerment and creating jobs up and down the country resonates with them, and they will open up their wallets.
Dave, right before we let you go, the pandemic, obviously the information throughout the world hit today. I know you've been one of the ones at the leading edge of coming up with solutions, potential partnerships, strategic partnerships between India and the United States to advance this and to try to come up with vaccines, generic drugs, all of that. Your concept, you're the first guy to build a bio wall. Was there any opportunity, you think, in the 2 days to move that forward with the contingents from the United States and India that were there?
I think, Steve, as you know, there's a lot of other things on the agenda, specifically the helicopter deal, which is like top priority, and that's going to be signed tomorrow in the presence of the two leaders. But just informally talking to a couple of Indian executives, they buy into this idea of the bio wall, and the larger point being the U.S. and India coming together and coming up with a long-term strategy to take the world away from this dependence on China and relying on a single source supplier for most of the world's medicines. Right now, America's primary caregiver is the Chinese Communist Party, and that's not a place most Americans want to be.
Dave, thank you very much. I know you're busy.
Yeah,
sure. Go ahead.
Let me add one final point. Today's rally was a demonstration of how India is, kind of stands apart from many countries in Asia. 125,000 people, not a single person wearing a mask. I mean, that demonstrated the healthiness, the vibrancy, and the vitality of the Indian people, and they would be great partners for America going forward. I mean, right now in China, as you know, you can't gather 10 people without a mask in any Chinese city.
Amazing. World's largest democracy. Dave, thank you very much. Look forward to having you on Pandemic here in the next couple of days. But thanks so much for joining us today. Dave Ramaswamy. Dave was central to the Howdy Modi operation. Thanks, brother. Brought President Trump, brought Modi over here for this huge rally down in Houston. It was one of the guys putting the rally together. He reported live from there. We're going to get our engineers to cut this off momentarily so we can get back to the war room.
The cool thing, Steve, they ended the rally with the Rolling Stones, who can't always get what you want. How cool is that? I mean, President Trump in India, 125,000 people, and they end it with "Cue the Stones." I mean, you gotta love President Modi.
Live from India.
Live from
music live from India.
Do you have the clip? Let's play the clip.
First Lady and I have just traveled 8,000 miles around the globe to deliver a message to every citizen across this nation. America loves India. America respects India. And America will always be faithful and loyal friends to the Indian people.
Powerful. Very powerful. Dave Ramaswamy from India. It shows you President Trump is playing now. It's official. I used to mock the Pepes when they said this, but President Trump now actually is playing 4-dimension chess, right? Because this move, the whole move with India. Remember, the Indian Americans, Hindu Americans, have been 2/3 to 75% vote Democrat from Silicon Valley, give money. I'm actually the chairman of the Republican Hindu Coalition, Shali Kumar's group, and he's been saying for years, you got this opportunity. Remember, Dave Ramaswamy and Jay Kansara and these guys, these are not Republicans. These guys are traditional. A lot of these guys are hardcore, have been Democrats for years and years and years, and this is once again where the Democratic Party has taken advantage, has not paid attention, has not worked with those communities like the African American community, like the Hispanic community. Clarke's been preaching this forever, that you get to, and Steve Cortez, our other partner, was on Maria this morning saying the Hispanic popularity of President Trump is now at 40%. And Cortez, who's on the advisory committee, said, hey, I think President Trump get the majority of Hispanic voters. This is part of this massive realignment. And it's geopolitical, right? Talking about China and everything we can do in partnership with India, but it's also then geopolitics is now playing back into American politics like it never has before. We've got a bit of minute left. On Twitter, Raheem, do we have people? Guys lighting us up this morning?
Yeah, hashtag War Room 2020 if you want to reach us during the show. A lot of people wondering what your thoughts are on the pandemic and the latest. Steve, that's the predominant thing, I think, with the markets down this morning.
Yeah, we're going to get into all that. So much happening. We're going to get back to also so much happening in domestic politics. I mean, I've never seen the news cycle like this ever. This is where the world is now integrated into, I think, the American political process. Is going to be quite amazing. Back in a moment.
War Room 2020. Bannon, Miller, Kassam.
Bannon, Miller, Kassam, and Clarke. Sheriff Clarke joins us live in the War Room. One of the great figures in the Trump movement, Tea Party movement, been a real rock of Gibraltar for us. Live in John Frederick, Salem Broadcasting America's Voice.news in 99.1, 103.9 in the Windy City, the city of Chicago, which I was reminded over the weekend on pandemic that people actually in China consider Wuhan the Chicago of China, not the Pittsburgh. It's us that say Pittsburgh. They say Chicago. So for all the Chicago folks, Wuhan, we're going to get to this horrific pandemic that we now know is spreading globally. But more importantly, it's all the misinformation or lack of information. That's one of the reasons that pandemic is watched in every trading room throughout the world, all the big Wall Street firms, and in live to all the deplorables. The deplorables are the cutting edge of this. We're going to get back to pandemic. President Trump's historic trip to India. And people, this is what the mainstream media is not showing. It's not just the pandemic, a little bit big-footed that, but CNN, MSNBC, even Fox, in a degree, did not show the scale of this thing. You know, we've had the Howdy Modi guys. I worked with those guys before the Howdy Modi trip. These guys love Trump. And then to see the scale of this is absolutely unbelievable. And the love, the outpouring for President Trump, because President Trump is like Modi. These guys are nationalists. They want to take care of their countries. But it shows you nationalists can work together for a better world. That's the whole thrust of America's First. And you're seeing it in just a massive. I mean, if Obama had done this, it would have been nonstop. And I don't want to whine. I know it sounds like whining, but it would have been nonstop coverage. That's, CNN would have had teams there. It would have been nonstop, and yet they try to put it to the back. But let's get back to the brutal Democratic race. This says something you and I have talked about. They delayed this civil war, and now it's come upon them because they always want to look the other way on the Bernie bros and the Bernie movement, and now it's up there. And here's what's so great about it. They're in full meltdown. MSNBC and aspects of CNN are literally in meltdown as you watch it. I can't watch enough of it, right? I'd TiVo the stuff and watch it at night. I just love these guys. They're in meltdown, and no better meltdown than our friends at Morning Joe.
They opened up this morning, literally, of everything going on in the world, they're opening up with, Bernie Sanders is going to win the Democratic nomination. And Steve and Raheem and Sheriff Clarke, I can't stress enough that this could be the single most important week for the 2020 election right here. I mean, this is the confluence of everything. We have the global pandemic, we have Trump in India, we have the civil war going on with the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders.
You have the Trump purge.
You have the Trump purge, the big Bernie Sanders win on Nevada. Tomorrow night, you have the next Democratic debate. South Carolina is on Saturday, and then Super Tuesday is a week from tomorrow. But right now, the way that they're coming after Bernie Sanders in this civil war, it's the focus and attention like we never saw in 2016. The focus on his wealth, going after his policies. I mean, Bernie Sanders was on Anderson Cooper last night in 60 Minutes, and literally Bernie said, "No, I don't know how much the programs will cost." Which, by the way, when is Anderson Cooper cared about how much programs will cost? And then secondly, when is Anderson Cooper thought about jamming up Bernie Sanders on Fidel Castro? And Sanders, though, talks about the quote-unquote massive literacy program that Fidel Castro started. I mean, and then Bernie Sanders just, put out the fire with more gasoline, says he's not going to AIPAC. I mean,
because it's APEC's too radical,
right?
APEC, the softball, the guys that we're on all the time, they're not hardcore enough. They're too radical. Bernie's not going to the political action thing, the Jewish political action thing, because it's too hardcore. They're the lightest guys in the world, right?
Yeah, I find interesting. You mentioned that all this coming together this week and how important this week is, and you guys know this. Politics changes by the hour. A month ago, who would have thought coronavirus, the Trump purge, so on and so forth? But what happens after these
pandemic?
What happens, and this is the brilliance of Trump, and I truly believe this. We were talking about chess before. I don't know about four-dimensional. I play a little chess, but never heard of that. But anyway, in chess, as you know, you have to stay moves ahead and watch what your opponent is doing. So you have to be able to do a lot at one time. That's what Trump can do. All right? Now that he got through the impeachment, he went right on offense. Right on offense. And now he's got the Democrats and he's got the liberal media responding to him. And that's the brilliance of this guy. He just waits. He picks his moment. He doesn't overreact in the moment of things, and then when it's time to
Why
hit,
is the liberal
strikes.
why is the liberal media going so hard after Bernie? You've been kind of a radical in the Republican Party. You've been a populist. You've been a Tea Party guy. You've been one of these economic nationalists. You've been there as a minority. You've been taking more grief than they. Why are they attacking Bernie Sanders so badly?
Because he doesn't fit any of their demographics. You know, this disparate group of this patchwork like that they put together has nothing to do with socialism. And Sanders has come like a bull in a china shop and setting the pace, upsetting everything that they've worked hard to do to build this thing with all these disparate groups, right? And that spells trouble. I mean, how do you rally the black vote behind Sanders? How do you rally the Hispanic vote? How do you rally LBG?
Black people don't want socialism? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay,
Absolutely not.
Is that the key? Is this exposing the Democratic Party, really who owns the Democratic Party, the Wall Street and corporatists that are really own the Clintons, the Clinton Obama? You know, because Obama had the greatest transfer of wealth in world history during his presidency. The top 1% quadruple what they made because of the way he bailed out Wall Street. Is this exposing all the lies and hypocrisy of the Democratic Party?
Yeah, I think it's not just exposing the lies and the hypocrisy, but also exposing the fragile nature of that coalition. People talked about last time around, why Hillary wasn't able to get that Obama coalition together. They're worried about this again. They're looking at Bernie and they're going, as Sheriff Clarke just said, he can't do it. He's leading us on a hiding to nowhere.
Do you believe that? Don't you think in a mobilization election, Bernie going to be a lot tougher than people think? Isn't he going to be able to mobilize? He's already going to blow out. You don't agree?
Oh, no, I agree wholeheartedly. I keep telling people this everywhere I go. Do not underestimate this guy. This guy knows how to rally the base. This guy knows how to energize people. I watched a couple of his primary victory rallies afterwards, and I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, uh-oh. You know what? Dismiss this guy at your own peril. Don't forget, with any Democrat nominee, no matter who it is, whether it's Buttigieg, Sanders, Warren, they start with 48% of the vote. They start with 48% of the vote and about 200 electoral votes. So, you start there. And
is he right? Is there any the suburban mom and these moderate, the quote unquote moderate to conservative Democrats are out there? Is Clarke right that they still hang with a Bernie? Is that what? Because the establishment is in meltdown because they're saying now, oh gosh, there's 2/3 of these votes, except for Nevada. There's 2/3 of moderates and conservatives actually voting against Sanders, and actually you got a small core of the party, the Bernie Bros, is trying to take it over.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, do my whole Al Pacino Any Given Sunday impression, this is going to be a game of inches. I mean, the Democrats are going to hang with Bernie if he's a nominee. Republicans are going to hang with Trump. And literally, the small differences, can Trump take his share of the African-American vote from, say, an 8% to a 10%? That can make all the difference. Can Trump swing these little slivers here and there? And again, the whole thing is, people forget, say like a Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg doesn't have a base, per se. Bernie Sanders has a base, and in a base election, then it's all about intensity and getting people to show up.
But here's why I think this is important.
We got about 30
when you
seconds.
talk,
Yep.
will these demographics
Yep.
flip over to Sanders? The anti-Trump sentiment is still strong in this country, and this will cause people who might not to hold their nose, swallow hard, and vote for Sanders just to get Trump out of there. So you got that dynamic as well.
Okay, we're going to come back. I want to know, the lazy mainstream media has never really drilled down on Sanders. I want to talk about all this stuff they're talking about now, that, hey, he's weak, he's got Oppo, the Democrats' hair on fire. Raheem, how do people get to us, and how particularly they participate in the show?
Hashtag War Room 2020. People are loving your hat, by the way, Sheriff Clarke. Sorry, Steve.
Oh, my God. Duke, come on. Where's my... I invited Sheriff Clarke to have the sheriff hat, the cowboy hat.
But they do say Bannon's beard is better than Buttigieg's was the other night on the debate. So, a compliment for both.
We'll be back, episode 12 in a second.
War Room 2020. with Stephen K. Bannon, Jason Miller, and Raheem Kassam. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Live from Capitol Hill, it's Monday, 24 February, year of our Lord 2020, episode 12, War Room 2020. Let's go to, we do have Anderson Cooper jamming up Bernie. Let's listen to that,
That
Raheem.
cost. Obviously, those are expensive propositions, but we have done our best on issue after issue in paying for them.
Do you know how much, though? I mean, do you have a price tag for all of this?
We do. I mean, the price tag is, it will be substantially less than letting the current system go. I think it's about $30 trillion.
That's just for Medicare for all.
Just
you're talking
Medicare
about.
for all, yes.
Do you have a price tag for all of these things?
No, I don't. We try to, no, you mentioned making public colleges and universities tuition-free and canceling all student debt. That's correct. That's what I want to do. We pay for that through a modest tax on Wall Street speculation.
But you say you don't know what the total price is, but you know how it's going to be paid for. How do you know it's going to be paid for if you don't know how much the price is?
Well, I can't rattle off to you every nickel and every dime, but we have accounted for, you talked about Medicare for all.
Just round up to the closest trillion. Just like Bernie, no good.
Every nickel and every dime.
Every nickel
30
and-
trillion minimum on the Medicare for all alone.
But we're going to save it in, he says we're going to get it all back in, and then it's blank. If Trump did that, it would be, Anderson Cooper would be up in his grill, wouldn't
No,
he?
they did do this, remember. They did it about the wall. Remember, how much is the wall going to cost? Well, about 8 to 12 billion. Well, which is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it the 8? Is it the 12? Trump doesn't know his figures.
Those
He's
are-
making things
those
up on
are
the hoof.
billions.
I
This
thought
guy's
Mexi-
talking about
I thought
30
Mexico was
trillion
paying for it.
minimum.
This is first off, the free health care, they didn't even talk about the big one. It's the climate change. It's the climate change thing is more than the 30 trillion. That's like 80 trillion, right? You're over $100 trillion. Says I can't vouch for every nickel and dime.
But this goes back to what we were saying about whether or not the Bernie's his base is real, whether he does go into there with the base that you talk about, Sheriff Clarke, because a lot of the women vote for Bernie is supporting him because they're concerned predominantly about healthcare as an issue. He's great on healthcare when it comes to here's what we want to do. He's not so great when it's are we actually going to do it? Can we actually afford it?
You don't worry about costs. I mean, nobody in Washington, D.C. worries about costs on any of this stuff. But you're right. I mean, that's his strong suit, healthcare, right? He was talking about that back in 2016. He kind of owns that issue. Now, you're right. The numbers don't add up. But you know what? That is music to people's ears. Free healthcare, right? Free tuition. Music to their ears. They don't want the details. Is it free? I'll take it.
See, here's where I'm going to disagree with you. This is where I think he's going to fall into the Corbyn trap. When Dominic Cummings did those up in the Midlands, he did these focus groups, and they put it up on Channel 4. They go in there, and these are lifetime labor guys, labor people, that have their own private insurance, and they sit there and go, hey, we don't have a lot. We don't like Corbyn personally. However, the bigger problem we have is how's he going to pay for this stuff? I actually think people, particularly working class people, there's a lot of them that are hard-headed enough and know, hey, I may not have the greatest deal in the world, but I got a deal, right? And here's Bernie. He's talking crazy. He can't even get his arms around what the cost of this thing. Some point in time, they're not going to tap. They're going to sit there and go, the wealthy are never going to get hit. They're going to come to me, right, and I'm going to lose it. I think there's enough of that. I actually believe the working class people in this country, when you compare and contrast Trump's program and Bernie's program, or sit there and go, I'm not buying into the free stuff's got to be paid for, and I'm going to get stuck with the bill.
This is true. However, Bernie's talking to the crazies. He's not talking to the working middle class. Don't forget, that demographic has been kicked to the curb by the Democrats anyway. They kind of gave up on them, so they're not counting on them.
See, I disagree with you again, Clarke. That's why it's good having you in here. That's why I love you. I think a lot of Bernie's people are just hardworking that think they've been out of the deal, and they're not. We're deconstructing the administrative state. They want more government involvement. The idea about what the problem is, I think, is fairly similar. They just come up with a different solution. But I think if they nominate Hillary Clinton or Bloomberg or Mayor Pete or something like that, 15 or 20%, not all of them, some of them are crazy, 15 or 20% of those are going to come here. I mean, Bernie's thing right now with free stuff and open borders is literally a catastrophe for the country. His overall plan, if you really field strip it, and he's so not ready. If he's on a stage with Donald Trump and Donald Trump's hammering him on the cost as the business guy and the deal guy Trump is, and he comes up with, I don't know, every nickel and dime, end of campaign right there, right? And even as a great mobilizing guy.
Well, yeah, and I mean, keep in mind, if it's a Sanders-Trump general election matchup, Trump's going to win this by scaring the bejesus out of people and saying your health care, gone. Your borders, gone. Your paychecks, gone.
Capitalism, gone.
Capitalism, gone. And just painting this picture
Cuba
of it.
here.
Yes, painting this dystopian future, which, by the way, wouldn't be that far off. Because this is the craziness what Bernie's bringing. But as I said before, this will be the game of inches. Can you motivate your base? Can you get them to show up? Bernie will have his people fired up. But what I want to make sure we get to in this next block is how they're trying to steal this from
Yes,
Bernie Sanders.
again.
Because everyone has Bernie projecting to get a plurality, not a majority, before the convention, which means whether it's Hillary firing up the broomstick or, as you said, crooked in the bullpen, which was trending on Twitter, they're coming for him.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and come back with Raheem, Jason, Sheriff Clarke, and myself in a second.
War Room 2020. Bannon, Miller, Kassan.
Episode 12, live from Capitol Hill. It's Monday, the 24th of February, the year of our Lord 2020. I'm a pitch to Mr. Raheem Kassan with breaking news.
So this is one of my favorite clips that started circulating yesterday. After this Anderson Cooper interview comes out, I want people to hear Bernie from back in the day.
You know, it's funny, sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is because people are lining up for food. That's a good thing. In other countries, people don't line up for food. The rich get the food and the poor starve to death.
That's Bernie Sanders.
That's Bernie.
Stuff. But his interview with Anderson Cooper reminded me of this interview that LBC did in the United Kingdom with Diane Abbott, who was Jeremy Corbyn's Home Affairs spokesman ahead of the last UK election. It's the same kind of stumbling thing. I want you to listen to the first 30 seconds of this.
Recruit the 10,000 police men and women over a 4-year period. We believe it'll be about £300,000.
£300,000 for
Sorry,
10,000 police officers. What are you paying them?
No, I mean, sorry.
How much will they cost?
They will cost. It will cost about £80 million.
No, 300,000 to 80 million. But this shows you, no offense, this shows you the Corbynistas and Bernie. It doesn't make it's monetary theory. Money doesn't matter, right? It's not about anything locked into reality.
And guys, I'm getting a breaking news alert. Diane Abbott has been hired as Bernie Sanders' lead spokeswoman for the 2020 campaign.
In further news.
Hold on, you joke, but there are plenty of Corbynistas who have nothing to do since the last election, and guess who they're coming over to the United States campaigning for
absolutely.
now?
They're working for Bernie. Here's the point. Working class people heard that and said, I'm not in. This is how the red wall, and this is the lesson. Remember, Brexit and the Trump victory in 2016 are inextricably linked. Okay? This is a populist, working class, it's the worker, soldiers, first responders, householders party. Right, and that's what people. And this is why Boris Johnson won that sweeping victory. This is what Nigel Farage has been preaching for years. When you pull that out there is enough of the working class to sit there and go, you know what, I'm going to get stiffed. Right, I'm going to be in the breadline that Bernie thinks is so great. Bernie, I'm not looking for a breadline. Right, I'm looking for a well-paying job that I can keep my family, prosperous. And this is what these guys don't get. Right, that's the message of Trump. That's why Trump's in India. Trump's in India supporting Modi. That's what Modi's all about for India. That's why Trump's over there, and they're talking partnerships and everything like that. That's why this thing is spreading, and that's why this message in the Democrat Party, it is so great to see these guys in the Democrat Party at each other's throats, right? I can't get enough of this. I got the popcorn out every night. It can't be better to see Morning Joe and Meek and all these phonies attacking Bernie and understanding they're in full meltdown.
They are starting to get the playbook now of how the media chopped up Jeremy Corbyn over the figures and Diane Abbott over the figures. It was one thing to say, this guy likes Chavez or this guy likes Hamas and all that stuff. Yeah, all right, that's bad. What does it actually mean? How much is it going to cost?
No. See, you're dead spot on something. This is why I keep this whole theoretical debate between capitalism and socialism. That's kind of theoretical, and people would think, boom, you keep hitting them on. What are you specifically talking about? Give me the details. Donald Trump will rip him apart mano a mano if this is what he's going to bring. Because you're going to have to bring the heat against Trump.
Well, and one thing I want to point out is that some of the words that were thrown out here, whether it be the socialism, whether it be this talk of Castro and these other things, these aren't pejoratives for Bernie's base. So we're talking about is like, here's how we kill Bernie in general election. His folks are hearing this and like, yeah, that's our guy. Like, that's Bernie. So in the context of here until Super Tuesday, here until the convention, these interviews, Bernie making these comments are not going to cause him
Why
to tank.
has it taken? Yeah, exactly. Why has it taken so long to get here, though? For the opposition research, you saw Sheiky shot across his bow that there's disqualifying research on his, as Raheem says, hugging up on Chavez and these in Castro. Why are we in almost March of 2020, and now this is all a big reveal?
Because denial ain't just a river in Egypt. The entire Democratic Party has been in a state of denial, thinking, well, someone's going to rise up and beat Bernie Sanders.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so it's going to be Joe Biden, and then not Joe Biden. Then it's going to be Mike Bloomberg, and then they were, maybe for a few minutes it was Mayor Pete, or could Amy Klobuchar come in there? No, they have Bernie Sanders, and in fact, Nate Silver at 538 is projecting Bernie's going to get to 1,796 delegates before the convention. Need 1990, and so it's going to be right there. They're going to try to steal this from him at convention.
And that'll be fun. It really will, because they're going to be ready this time. They were not ready. They were pretty naive going up against Hillary Clinton back in 2016. That the fix was in. Okay, remember the Donna Brazile moment where she gave Hillary the questions to the debate, that sort of stuff that was going on. But here's the thing too, where the Trump campaign is going to be able to benefit. If you just look at this as an either or, yeah, I think you guys are right? People look at this, they go, Sanders, no, I can't do it. The stay home factor will benefit. That's what happened to the black vote in 2016. They stayed home. So
Milwaukee, Detroit, Philadelphia, those three states.
Very low turnout.
I can't pull the trigger yet for Trump. I'm not there, but I'm not going to vote for I can't do the Clinton thing again.
There you go.
That was the key in Wisconsin, which is going to be, that's where you're going to be here a lot, Sheriff Clarke, because Wisconsin is going to be ground zero of this victory. Real quickly, what about the Bloomberg, though, has not helped his cause here the last couple of days?
Yeah, so Bloomberg obviously reeling after a disastrous debate performance last week. He's been getting pummeled. They said they're going to release the women from the NDAs. We haven't seen any step forward yet.
Jailbreak.
Sabrina Singh, who's Mayor Bloomberg's spokeswoman, was on TV this weekend and said that she's not aware of any coming forward yet to be released.
How can he have this much money and have the worst surrogates I've ever seen? Where's the surrogates? You spend hey, they got a $10,000 Nobu sushi bill. You would think you'd have everybody's getting top dollar, and they're all paid through December. I'm sitting there expecting like the best ever, and it's all so weak.
Well, and the social media folks all get $2,500 a month, which is, I mean, that's kind of unheard of. And they literally, but here's the thing: it's crickets. Because no one actually supports Mayor Bloomberg. It's just, hey, maybe I'm getting $2,500 a month.
When your base is $70 billion, doesn't get you any love.
The big flinch is that Mayor Bloomberg is now not participating in this evening's CNN town hall.
That's malpractice. It's malpractice.
Well, here's the reason. I bet you what his people are. There are two things. One, they know he's going to get chopped up. I mean, you can't stop being a 78-year-old arrogant billionaire. I mean, you can't fix that over the weekend with a couple of prep sessions with Wolfson and Sheiky. But I bet they're going to him and saying, Bernie is on the ropes. He's getting pummeled. Don't snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Don't make yourself the news.
Let him do the talking. And by the way, you're going to have your own debate on Tuesday where Elizabeth Warren
the guy
at you.
Raheem, if you were there, how do you think? What would you be advising him? Would you ever advise him to do a town hall, Bloomberg?
No, I don't think so. Although it might have been good preparation for him for the debate. He might have got some tough questions that could have warmed him up for the debate, where more people will be watching the debate, by the way, than be watching the town hall. And he'd be able to clarify some things. So, I don't know. Hey, by the way, just want to read out a comment quickly. Jennifer says, to stop Bernie, the GOP needs to mobilize around healthcare, just as we were discussing. Very important issue.
Okay, episode 12, we'll be back in a second.
War Room 2020. Bannon, Miller, Kassan.
Live from Capitol Hill. Raheem, get out of your stock portfolio for a second. Where did we stand? The Dow, and where's gold?
The Dow is down.
Raheem's over there during the show now, calculates his net worth nonstop.
No, I'm calculating my by the minute. When we launched War Room Pandemic, I said, hold on a minute, this isn't going to work. I need to get into gold. And sure enough, today we're seeing, and just a news story just came out from Market Watch, gold and treasury prices soar as coronavirus fears spark a global stock market sell-off and flight to safety. Dow's down 805.
The flight to safety, this is one of the things about President Trump and the economy. Remember, everybody wants in on President Trump's economy. The dollar, once again, is going to get really strong. We've had this concept was a strong dollar over a value dollar, but hey, right now, people are out there dumping stocks, dumping bonds, and going to cash, and that cash would be United States dollars in here.
I am holding my Tesla, though.
let's go. Let's go. I don't even talk about that. That's short there. Let's go back to the Bloomberg situation and the Bernie situation. What does Bloomberg have to do over the next couple of days to galvanize some sort of counter revolt to? Because after Super Tuesdays, the field's going to get really thinned out, right?
Well, Jason, let me ask you this, and jump in here. What I want to ask you is, if you're managing that campaign, is this a reset moment for you? Is this where you say, okay, we really have to pretend that we didn't even appear on that last debate
we had
stage?
a failure to launch.
Right, and we got to start again? Or is he going to have to address that? Is there no getting away from that?
Well, he's going to have to, especially in the Democratic primary, he's going to have some sort of human connection and emotional connection to some of these issues that are concerning Democratic primary voters, whether it be on the Me Too front, whether it be with the African-American community, whether it be with working people who he has no connection with. He's just completely disconnected. He's going to have to show that I'm going to be your person. I mean, here's the thing. You have a billionaire in Donald Trump who relates to working class people all around the country.
Blue class billionaire.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. And he's look, from someone I could tell you, when I would talk to him every day at 6:30 in the morning, he would tell me stories about going to construction sites with his dad, walking around, understanding how to put together an A-frame or an even pour when you're laying out concrete. These are things he understands. But Bloomberg is very much it's almost like a Mitt Romney. Let's bring the air conditioner down to the car, an actual physical air conditioner unit, and pump it into the car. Like, he's just so disconnected. One, he has to do that. I think Bloomberg also has to reframe. When we talk about a reset, it's what does this race look like? And he needs to set himself up as the person who can take on Bernie. Here's the thing to remember. When we talked about Bloomberg and waking up on March 4th and this race essentially being over, that was based on Bloomberg's cash trajectory.
Yes.
What we're realizing now is that his electability trajectory no longer matches. What he has to do is say, we're going to a brokered convention. We're going to go play by the rules. If you want someone who can beat Bernie, want someone to beat Trump, it's me. Because if he doesn't reverse this trend, he could finish second or third in some of these states on Super Tuesday.
1,700, I think, gets you. I mean, I think it's not a lock that Bernie's the candidate. If he's only at 1,700, they'll try to steal it from him.
Second ballot, absolutely.
Second ballot. He's got to get to 19 or okay. How do people want to get 30 seconds? How do people get? What's your Twitter handle? How do people get more information about the Sheriff Clarke?
At Sheriff Clarke, that's Clarke with an E, Clarke. Also, my website is americassheriff.com.
By the way, people from Kentucky are not happy about the Duke ball cap. Next time you're in the war room, can you please wear the sheriff's hat, man? You got guys in a full meltdown. Okay, War Room Pandemic. The only show that is close to being as hot as War Room 2020 is Pandemic. We're going to be next. We're going to be reports from China, reports from Italy, throughout the world on Pandemic. Curtis Ellis joins us. See you in a second.